Welcome back. Sorry about that. We had a little bit of a technical issue. Zoom was playing up. So, playing up is a technical term. But anyway, yeah. So where were we, John? Watford.
You reap what you sow.
Culture rotten. Being overruled.
You reap what you sow, and that's it. End of.
Yeah. Okay. You mentioned earlier about just generally a sort of malaise of poor defending that's sort of almost sort of creeping into, well, has crept into the game over the last few years.
But I was too intense.
It was too intense, yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, well, we'll explore that a little bit then. So, but it was I think it could be a neat segue to Liverpool, Manchester City, only because Alessandro Conte, the most intense manager around him, and Simeone, probably two of the most intense managers, has got, certainly yesterday, Tottenham were not Spursy. They defended very well against Liverpool. But Klopp came out in the press after the game and said he doesn't agree. He said, whilst he respects it, doesn't agree with that way of playing, i.e. doing whatever you can to get a result, the low block, another Wally sort of jargon phrase that we can also talk about. But is it that defenders are, like you alluded to earlier, the fact they haven't been sort of coached and it's not been ingrained within them from a young age to be good defenders? Is it that, or is it that top level managers or any sort of manager that sees themselves as a top level manager doesn't want to focus on defense? And someone like Conte is a bit of an outlier, as is Simeone now. Is there sort of a fashion? Is there a fashion to not be defensive and to everyone's got to play out from the back? Every centre half's actually got to be a centre mid. Every fullback's got to be a winger or a centre forward. And is that just nonsense, or is that just the way? Is that just natural evolution of the game?
Well, it's a number of ingredients, I think, Joe. I think when you're talking about, so you tie it in with what I said about it being embedded in when you're a youngster.
Yeah.
Then when you're in senior football, I think it's a combination of things. I think maybe managers, coaches, they do the flip chart thing, or they do the video analysis thing. And from what I've seen on the documentaries on the TV, I mean, you can never really be sure the work that is or isn't done behind the scenes. Only they know.
Yeah.
But I think they take it a little bit for granted, maybe, where they think that there's no need for revision. And so they don't revise the players on the training field, or if they do, that's the other ingredient. If they do, the players are not very good at applying it. I mean, I've been in a situation myself where people can apply things to the last detail, and they're magnificent and easy to work with, and good to work with, enjoyable to work with, rewarding to work with, and then you tend to get results at whatever level. Some we did, some we didn't. Got results big time at some big scalps at youth level. Started off all right in the first team when it was the organisation seemed to be almost borderline a novelty, and then that novelty wears off, and then I think it's down to what I wanted to say, which is in synopsis form, it's down to the application of the players.
Yeah,
they're just not up to it, or they don't apply it, or they ain't got the discipline, or dare I say it, in some cases lazy. Or you look at somewhere they overindulge, like and they put in a great recovery run, and the opposition still score. Like I looked at the thing where he was overindulgent, Kovacic, and then he's realised he's made a boo-boo. He's made a magnificent recovery run and smashes into Rudiger. But more specifically, if I'm looking at stuff and comments, I mean, they're a little bit. It's up to him and his players to find a way around it. I mean, that's the low block sort of 5-4-1 or 3-6-1, depending on whether they push into. I mean, you look at it really and truly. what happened with the equaliser, it's got nothing to do with the way Spurs approached. You know what I mean? I thought they got pulled all over the place, Liverpool. You had Robertson, who's left back, ended up in the right back position, and you had Trent Alexander-Arnold, who's right back, ended up in the left back position. So runs that they'd just bought. You know, they'd bought, well, I've got to go with him, rather than communicate and pass him on, and they've ended up crossing over. Yeah, that's got nothing to do with the way Spurs approach, which really and truly, if you break it down and you're, let's say, a little bit sort of tolerant and you're allowing on how it's summed up, is old school Catenaccio, defending deep and then hitting them on the break, which is an old Italian thing, which you'd expect. I mean, if he's won European Coach of the Year a couple of times, you'd expect to get his teeth into them and get into their ribs and iron them out, get them sorted out. And so they should. It's like they're a very experienced. People don't realise they're a very experienced side, Tottenham. You've got this fixture coming up next Thursday. It is the typical sort of experienced versus the youth,
yeah.
And to an extent where I said over the last 4, 5, 6 years, where even under Pochettino, never mind Mourinho, they allowed too many players to get old together, who were a yard off the pace, 2 yards off the pace, and had gone a bit stale and needed to be moved on for. I mean, I'm looking at it last night. I think, how great would it be to have a few quid now? I mean, the dream ticket. I'm looking at the dream ticket. The dream pairing for me would be Van Dijk and the young Argentinian who plays centre back for Spurs, because I look at him and the way he approaches it is everything I'm matured into. Probably a bit a bit quicker, but not only that, just you've got to make a, when you listen, like, you're looking for people in your own sort of personality, mirror image to a degree, philosophy on the game in each position, and he would be sort of typical. The way he approaches it, totally uncompromising. You're not going to get an easy ride today. You're not going to get any change out of me. I'm going to make life difficult for you. If I get a chance, I'm going to leave my mark on you. That's exactly how as I matured, I approach things.
Yeah.
You know, he's obviously doing it at a much higher level. But you look at it, you just think to yourself, this kid that would be, to me, the dream ticket as a pairing.
Yeah, he's been a very good signing, and to be fair to Spurs, they've bought some good players in. I mean, Kulusevski, he's 21 years old. I mean, the guy, personally, I think he could be one of the best players in the world. I mean, if he's playing at this high level at 21, you think of some players at 21, it's like Rashford. You know, he seems to have been 21 forever. Oh, you know, he's gonna mature. You know, when Sterling came out, it was a revelation. He was 20 and he was going to be the next best thing. But I think Kulusevski, no one seems to mention at his age. He seems to be playing at a 26, 27-year-old's age.
I was sort of semi had the piss taken out of me with regards to trying to build from the back and where we need forwards. I know we need forwards. I knew we need forwards. You understand? But everything starts from a position of giving nothing away, whether it's in business or whether, and there's books been written about it. I've said it before on previous podcasts, or whether it's in sport. You start from a position of giving nothing away, and you build from the back. And you know, if I'm looking at Spurs' ambition, then they've got to hold on to him. If I'm Chelsea, definitely Man United, and maybe even Liverpool to play alongside Van Dijk, I'll be looking at this kid.
Yeah.
I think he's been magnificent. I really think he's been top draw in terms of the way he goes and wins the ball, the way he flies into the press, and but then applies the brakes, the way he sees an opportunity to put a foot in. And a lot of the time he stops people turning, or he catches them on the half turn, which is a good practice for kids. Defending 1v1 with the opponent with his back to you. He's top draw. I think he's been top draw. I really do.
So just on that then, while we're talking about Spurs and obviously Arsenal, who do you think is going to finish in the top 4? Who's going to win the North London derby? Who deserves it more?
Yeah, who deserves it more? That's interesting. I think Arsenal deserve it more, because I think they've as a young side, they've had to come through so much more and develop so much more quickly. But on paper, it should be Spurs.
Yeah. If
you're looking at like established players in terms of Premier League, international experience, Spurs are vastly superior in terms of experience, I would say. I think it's finally balanced. I mean, to the extent where I'm tempted to sit on the fence.
Yeah. Well,
Let's say it'd be a very tightly drawn game.
yeah, it's not. I mean, all of a sudden, I mean, not we're going to necessarily talk about Leeds, but whereas it was almost a dot on the card, 3 points, playing Leeds, they've got their players back now. It's not that much of an easy game, I don't think. Arsenal Leeds today.
No, you're going to see. You might even see a thing where, like you saw yesterday, it's a bit of a surprise. People might raise their eyebrows and say, "Well, you didn't expect that result." Where someone's sort of one thing, or you like in Chelsea's case, 2-2 at home to Wolves, Liverpool's case, dropping points at home. You might see a situation like that again today, especially now Leeds have got all their players back and they're desperate for points themselves.
Oh, exactly. They're fighting for their lives, yeah.
Yeah.
And their form ain't been too bad. I know lost the last game, but last 5 they've last 4 games before that they drew 2 and 1-2. So he has sort of had an impact at the old septic tank. Very quickly on Manchester United. So beginning of the season, I think you thought they sort of turn the corner a little bit and improve.
Got that one wrong, yeah.
Yeah.
Drastically.
Yeah, I mean, how do you think? Obviously, Rangnick, I don't know if he's still going upstairs to be some kind of director of football or whatever. But they've obviously brought in Ten Hag, the
money for old rope that'll be, wouldn't it? Money for old rope that'll be. No, in no way, shape, or form should he be. He's obviously not a strong enough personality.
No.
If you could, I mean, ideally, you want to be like me, which is both.
Yeah.
Whereby you're a student of the game, you can break things down in forensic detail, you can articulate and communicate the game. But your personality is strong enough not to stand any cobblers, nonsense, and bullshit. You know what I mean? I think Spurs. Beg your pardon. I do beg your pardon. Man United. I think he summed it up perfectly last night. Alan Shearer. Embarrassing. Shambolic.
4-0 is bad, isn't it? It's really bad.
Yeah. It's like almost a state of anarchy there. And then you're loath to dig certain players out as they come at the end of their career because they've been nothing short of magnificent, as in, borderline world's best player. And then it's down to personal preference, whether it's Ronaldo or Messi, who you choose. It's just down to personal choice. Having said that, you look at it, you just think, well, the wrong players have they got influence on the dressing room? And if they have, is it a good influence? Is it a positive influence? I like to think when I see before he came back, I see the one in midfield. I thought he was a positive influence. He's got his name on a new 5-year deal. He's gone off the boil.
McTominay or Fred?
No, McTominay's always been out of his depth.
Yeah,
I promise you. Listen, I'm no great shakes as a Premier League player, formerly known as the First Division, but I acquitted myself all right. So I know what I'm looking at and I know what I'm talking about. And it might be a Scottish international, but I promise you, if you're looking at the biggest club in the world alongside the likes of Real Madrid and Barcelona, and 5 times European champions Liverpool, I'm telling you now, he's out of his depth. He always has been.
Well, you look at the team that started yesterday. I think they had Lindelof centre half, Varane, who was at one stage the best centre half in the world, but they played Mata. I mean, Mata ain't played for about 2 years, and he played last. I mean, that's it was all of a sudden their team looks. They've spent a lot of money.
Yeah, he's probably 3 seasons by. He should have left 2-3 seasons ago, but he's hung on, hasn't he? Which why wouldn't you at a club like Man United, like Mata? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he's been a fantastic professional and a fantastic player. If you're looking to move forward, you've mentioned Rashford.
Well, what's his face?
Potential for like 12 years now.
Yeah,
You've
still 21.
Jesse Lingard's he got left out. He was out of sorts under one manager, and he's basically never looked back. He's sunk without trace. Had a brilliant spell at West Ham, and then now he's come back, and now he said he don't envisage staying at Man United.
Well, he's about 30. I mean,
but beyond the end of the season. You've got Cavani, who's in his time been world class.
Yeah.
Who you see you're talking about Man City earlier, not really having a centre forward. Well, if Man United have, then they obviously haven't been utilised very well.
No, it's true. It's a good point. Very, very good point, actually. Yeah.
Because I'm looking at who's their focal point, and then you look at the Man United teams of yore. It was always about good combination play and passing to get the ball into the right areas, or go wide for Giggs or Beckham to put in a delivery for centre forward to get on the end of it with midfielders helping to flood the box like Keane and Scholes. It was tried and trusted formula with those players, but this seems to be basically a duvet made up of it's just like different patches of cloth and material, and it don't really. It's a bit of an eyesore.
I mean, if you think about Matic and Mata, I mean, they were has-beens 3 years ago, and they're still playing. You know, and has-beens for Chelsea.
Yeah. I think it highlights the amount of money that's been wasted as well.
Yeah. Well, and it's the mate they signed from Sancho, Jadon Sancho. I mean, Jesus Christ.
Well, again, I'll get a self-satisfied, smile of satisfaction, because at the end of the day, you've got to invest wisely by doing your own work in terms of the player's ability and his personality, which Sir Alex Ferguson did, tied in with homegrown talent, which Sir Alex Ferguson did. And in my case, when I had my perceived chance, maybe the odd loan from a bigger club, which was part of my strategy I put forward to the. I think at the time he was the chairman owner, now he's president or whatever. All right, so it's nice to have your opinions confirmed based on, and those opinions are only based on common sense. I mean, it's not. I'm not a revelation. I ain't saying I'm any sort of revelation. When you look at it now, the amount of money that's literally been wasted, like, I think it was quarter of a billion on like 3, 4, 5 players. Or maybe you've got the centre half who now he doesn't even look like he could play for England in the autumn. Well, you've got Sancho, who's had the odd decent game. You had a like £50 million fullback, who magnificent athlete, but his decisions are questionable, and he offers nothing going forward from Palace. Well, there's 180 million in 3 players. Madness, just madness, total madness, complete madness.
Well, just on that, because I think that's had a big impact on England. It's annoying, yeah, but it's going to have a big impact on England, because Sancho.
There's a lot of things that'll have an impact on England. Yeah,
but Maguire is England captain, or is it Kane's England captain? But he's very, very influential. He's, as to coin your phrase, had a Lionel, absolute horrific season.
Yeah.
To the point where he's almost being dropped now by Man United. So
he started on the bench, they're bringing on when they're 4-0 down to try and shore it up. Well, I mean, embarrassing. What kind of bollocks is that? And this guy's meant to be some sort of football strategist.
Messiah
about the press that fucking Liverpool were doing in the 1970s when I was playing. Shut up. Who are these media and pundit mugs who make this shit up to try and put a new spin on it so that it becomes as, sexy and something good to look at? Shut up. You don't know what you're talking about and what you're looking at.
Well, it's funny. They was talking about sort of anodyne platitudes. I think it's a question about Angelotti getting into the final of the Champions League again, and they said to Rio Ferdinand, so where does Angelotti stand in the Pantheon of managers? He said, well, he's got to be considered within that list. It's like, yeah, not off. He's won the league, I think, in 5 different countries. It's like, it's just moral bum platitudes, as to
Mr. Cool. Mr. Cool. Yeah. That's what I'm putting down to Mr. Cool. Likes a lardy, like Big Mal did, like he has a cigarette, likes a Richard, likes a glass of wine, likes a Richard III, from what I've heard.
What, turd?
No, bird.
Oh, right, yeah.
And then I'm listening to him in the thing on the radio and all that when he was promoting his book, and you just think, wow, yeah, that sort of makes sense and it's good. It's nice, but it depends on the situation you inherit. He says, when I come in as a manager and I inherit a situation, he said, initially I'll try and change as little as possible, and I prefer to work with what's there, and I prefer to work with the people that are there, and I prefer to go along with the people who have already implemented ideas. Well, see, what I'll do is I examine everything, and then I'll go back through history and I'll go, well, how did that work out at Everton? You get what I'm saying? Because he tried to work with what was there. He was given money. He tried to work with the people that was there, like Duncan Ferguson and the staff behind the scenes, and the players were already there, and the ideas that have been implemented, and he couldn't do anything. So, like I say, it's a very valid point. but it depends on the situation you're walking into and the caliber of person you're working with at coaching and playing level. You can't do it like he did as like a sweeping generalisation. And I'll be honest, I think it was gifted to him. I thought Manchester City were criminal. And so you're looking at the man who has everything, Pep, as in he's everyone says he's meant to be the best or one of the best coaches in the world. He's meant to be. Well, why wasn't he screaming from the touchline like I used to use? As if you're putting your hand on the ball, knock it to play it short, play it short, play it short. Right, and you get the likes of Silva, Grealish, and Sterling out there in the corner. 86 minutes, I think 43 seconds, or 86 minutes, 23 seconds. I looked up in the corner as I was watching the highlights on BT, and then Grealish gets a break in the box. It's a left foot shot, and you think he's hit it wide, but it was on target, and it got deflected wide by the goalkeeper. He saved it with his leg. That goes for a Manchester City corner with 2 minutes and 10 seconds or 2 minutes and 17 seconds to go. So that's when you need leaders on the side and in the team, which I'm pretty sure I would have done it, and someone like Company would have done it, screaming at them, play it short. So what you do, you mime it. You put your foot on the ball and just like as if you're tickling the ball, right? Keep it in the corner. What happens is they put the corner in, it gets cleared, they go up the other end and score. You know what I mean? And you're thinking to yourself, these are meant to be internationals. This is meant to be a world-class manager. This is meant to be a world-class coach who's had all the money in the world to spend. And they can't hold on to a lead with 1 minute and 20 seconds to go. You know what I mean? Nothing short of criminal. Then you look at they give £100 million for yeah, I agree. I've been one of his biggest fans when we was meant to do this long term and got let down when we was doing this thing with Shanks and Hudson. And I was with Hudson. I'm a big fan of Grealish. But for me, when the ball got put in to curl towards the far post, Grealish didn't do enough to stop the cross. And then you're looking at where are the fullbacks? So they've got pulled in narrow, which it's about keeping your shape and keeping your discipline. All this went completely out of the window. It went completely out of the window. Shape and discipline, because you're going on about, someone said on Twitter about the defending. It's not just the application of the defending, it's the discipline, Joe. Yeah. It's the discipline to administer the defending and to keep your shape. And to boss the people around you so that you keep your shape. You understand? So for you to keep your shape, you need to put other people in place for them to keep their shape so you could keep your shape. You understand? Instead of which everyone got pulled all over the place. And the game was going like this. Whereas when you need to think, you know what I mean? And scream.
Don't go there.
Boss, aggressively boss people. So they're left in no uncertain terms, right? This is where I want you to get in here. You understand? And stay there. Screen the front. Don't get in here. And
you just say Company would have done that.
Don't let him get it. And he went out there and he turns like that and the cross is whipped in. I think, well, you don't need to get within blocking distance. Get fucking ball in your pretty face. You understand what I mean? He's 4 yards away. The geezer can curl a ball in. I'm 62. I'll be out curl a ball in. You know what I mean? If someone stands 4 yards from me, if he gets in my face, I ain't going to be able to get round him.
No.
You know what I mean? And I just think it was a catalogue of disasters, errors, and then they're cuddling at the end. And Angelotti looks like a genius. Even the fucking penalty, the Benzema penalty. I mean, I'm livid about it because I'm saying to myself, how many years have I been out of work driving a cab? You know what I mean? When you know that these are the stuff you're implementing back in the day. I mean, it was like an exam. When Holland, my successor, Holland, he was looking at a video and they showed this thing of an old game to try and see where they was coming from one of his first games that he played, and he said to his assistant, no wonder he went mad at him. So they went back through some videos, and then he asked him, and he's examining me. He said, when they rushed up there, he said, did you coach that? What did you actually, he said, is that what you told them to do? So I said, nah. I said, we had two things to do. We had one where we used to do drills where there was a signal, and the only time we used to rush up was when we concede the ball, which is another thing. I don't think teams are starting appropriately in terms of a dead ball, even at the highest level, right? But that's a side issue to the point I want to make. And then I said it's got to be like the mines going off in the penalty area whereby we leave so many of them offside. So we'd have a secret signal, and then on the guy's approach to the ball, as his head went down, he was about to make contact, you'd explode for 5-6 yards, right? And then you'd leave him 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 players offside, right? But the other one was during general play, if someone defended appropriately, correctly, and we forced the ball back, in relation to the ball, we'd look to squeeze up. But then if the possession was retained by the opposition, right, you'd squeeze up. But then on his approach with regards to playing the ball forward, a yard from me in making contact with the ball, you drop out again and assess the marking. He went, oh, I'm like, who the fuck are you to even doubt what I was doing? You understand what I'm saying? Well, when I'm looking at this is schoolboy defending. Benzema's going away from goal. He's going nowhere. He's surrounded by Manchester City players. And you get a rash. He goes arse over tit, does the Fosbury flop for dramatic purposes and gets the penalty. So, what's going on?
Yeah, I mean, he's been found wanting, really, Pep. I mean, whatever you say about him, as good as a manager he is, he's been found wanting when it comes to those.
That was his raison d'etre for going to City, was for them to get the Champions League.
Yeah.
And
he's had all the money, he's had all the help and guidance and support.
Working conditions. They've even built their own city up there, haven't they?
Yeah. So he's got to accept the criticism when it comes. Just speaking of tactical messiahs, I want to ask you about Brendan Rodgers.
No such thing. No such thing. It's all Joe. Listen, my book. I don't tell lies.
No.
My book in itself, the first one, it's like art. It's like pop music. It is a form of art, right? A lot of it's based on plagiarism. Then it's about whether you can enhance it.
Yeah. Well, I was going to ask you, is his bubble burst?
Oh, for sure. For sure. It's just that's football. That's the fickle world, the fickle nature of football, isn't it?
Yeah.
One minute you're a genius, and when it happened, even you said, he's got to be considered for this, he's got to be considered for that. And I just said, I think you'll find like it's just a case of fate and being in the right place at the right time, and then riding the crest of that wave so that you end up owning half of the Northwestern property, like he does. But the bottom line is, you've got to look at his track record at places like Watford and Reading, and then Liverpool, where he snatched defeat from the jaws of victory. You know what I mean? It's no good getting it right going one way. We all can just set up so that you can create space in behind for Jamie Vardy and get the ball to James Maddison as often as possible. You understand? You can all set teams up for that. But at the end of the day, like when he's at Liverpool, it weren't the slip against Chelsea by Gerrard that done the damage, in my opinion. I think it was the 3-3 draw at Palace. I actually think that was 3-0 or 3-1 up. I think it was 3-0 up. And I thought that's when they blew it. You know what I mean? You've got to get both ends right. Yeah. And all this, it's nice. You sound like you're a bit very thoughtful and forensic, and you like to think you're a bit of a professor with regards to coaching. But what we do, we blame the injuries anyway.
All right, and John. Well, I've run out of questions.
It don't bode well. I'll tell you now. It don't bode well. It don't bode well for England in the autumn.
No, that's a good point. Yeah, so Maguire's, as we said, had a Lionel.
Walker injured, Stones injured, Shaw injured.
Pickford has been pebble dashed all season. He's great. I mean, if Everton go down, I mean, his confidence is going to be shot to bits.
Do you remember the last time that happened? Under another coaching messiah, Fabio Capello, and he took Rob Green to South Africa. Yeah. He was fucking shell shocked. He was shell shocked.
Stress disorder.
The most, definitely, definitely the old PTS. Yeah. He'd been, I think, West Ham next season, and I'm only going to take players in form and who are doing well with their club, and he takes a couple of injured players, leaves Scott Parker at home, who's been the best midfield player in the country, and literally like carried West Ham on his shoulders, and then took a goalkeeper who, like you said, been pebble dashed with shots and crosses, and then he ends up with that thing. So it don't bode well, but at the end of the day, let him get on with it. Let him get on with it. Fuck it. I'll be laughing my tits off. At the end of the day, it's nice. I'm living in my own little bubble, my own little world, but it's nice to have your opinions confirmed, and it's nice to be proved right on occasion. And at the end of the day, it probably proves how much it meant to me as well.
Well, that's right.
I'm looking at all of it. I'm just thinking to myself now, the running. I think City might just hold on for the league. I think they've got a favourable running. I don't think Gerrard. It might even be won by then, by the last game of the season. I don't think Gerrard's going to be causing any upsets to do his old club a favour. On the upside for Liverpool, I think they'll win the big one. I think they might just have too much in the armoury. I'll tell you where it will be decided. It will be decided individual battles, and the tastiest one I think is Van Dijk Benzema. When we're looking at the Champions League final, I think Liverpool got a better goalkeeper. I think you've got like a situation in midfield. Depends how they deal with Modric. I think Liverpool going forward, I think they're capable of basically obliterating anyone. What he's got to do now, he's got to manage their legs and their minds.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't got long left because this is going to run out in 9 minutes to the second. But I wanted to ask you about, very quickly, Thiago, because everyone's raving about him. Everyone's saying he's the best thing since sliced bread. He's the playmaker. He's the quarterback, like to call him Wally phrase. But what do you think? Do you think he's as good as people say? Because basically, I don't. I think he's overly. He's too arrogant somehow. He does the no-look passes all the time. But
I'll play with a player like that.
Right. Yeah.
I played with a couple of players like that, but one who sticks in my memory. All that. I mean, the
Why
one
do they do it?
You're talking about when the way he pulled the ball down. We used to do that in the warm-up. It's having the balls to do it in the game. But I played with a player like that, Jimmy Clare at Chelsea. And guess what? He's got exactly the same. He had exactly the same stature and the same. I've said it before, running action as Billy Gilmore. And at the time, I mean, it's like I said, it's just nice to have everything confirmed when you've got an unstable situation at a football club. Back then, we had 7 managers in 6 seasons, and he was perceived as being too small. Now, size don't matter.
No.
You know what I mean? And I play with a player like that. And all I can say is when I played, it's nice to have someone like that in your side, Joe. Sort of contrary to what you're saying a little bit.
But okay.
You know, sort of arguing against what you're saying. It's always nice to have someone like that in your side. I've got to be honest. Yeah, out of everyone I've played with, apart from Ray Wilkins, he's the only one that ever demanded the ball off me. There's a player who played over 400 games for Chelsea at all levels. He never demanded the ball off me once.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. Yeah.
Centre midfield player, just like I might have mentioned it before, just like box to box.
Yeah,
and he'd get his foot in and then play it simple. So it didn't really screen the back four. Or no one did in them days, and it weren't set up to do like that.
No, that makes sense.
To be like that,
yeah, it makes it easy for everyone when someone demands a ball, particularly in that position. You should centre midfielder should do that, and I suppose his job is to be a defensive midfielder. But just to say, Arsenal 2-0 up, very early doors against Leeds. Leicester drawing 1-0 with Everton. West Ham are beating Norwich, so
no surprises.
No surprises, really.
None really.
Yeah,
You'd think as. Yeah, I just think the way it's going to end up, I think we got the bottom 3 right in terms of predictions.
Yeah,
just to pick up the thread.
You think Burnley then? Yeah, is going to go.
I did. I said then, and although the guy he's acquitted himself well, and it's nice, and I weren't particularly impressed with what Jack Hawke said. That says more about the players than the management. When he started going on about the situation with regards to a different voice, etc. I mean, that's got to be a well-worn cliche now. I said on numerous occasions that they couldn't keep expecting Sean Dyche to pull a rabbit out the hat. He can't keep being expected to perform miracles, right? That's verbatim. He can't keep being expected. I mean, I think his average spend was 2.1 million per transfer window. It's fucking nonsense. It's ridiculous. You know what I mean? So hopefully they'll get what they deserve in terms of the club, because again, it's another foreign mob, and they're using it as a franchise to pull some Nelsons out. You know what I mean? It might as well be an IOP or a Burger King or a KFC now. Some of the clubs in or McDonald's. Some of the clubs in this country, because they put a bit in to pull some Nelsons out. And tie it in with their franchises elsewhere, which I think is. It was all right for the people that sold it, where it used to be the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker years ago who owned the club. I mean, I just think the situation was such that they couldn't expect for him to keep performing miracles. So that was my predicted bottom 3. We got 2 out of 3 thus far. I got Man United wrong. Surprise packages, it's still bubbling a little bit. I said Tottenham, West Ham, so Tottenham might get a Champions League place, maybe not. If they don't get it now, they never will, because they've got an abundance of fully mature players within the squad. who have been playing for a long time and understand each other for a long time. I've got to pose the question: when does it stop being about the manager and start being about the players? You know what I mean? Because there's been very little turnover there, very quickly. I think City. I think I might have got that. I'm not sure if I've got that right or wrong. It was always going to be a two-horse race anyway. Because
I think you said City, actually. I think you did say City.
Yeah, I always knew Chelsea were going to come up short, unfortunately. I think Liverpool win the big one, so that'd be a nice cup double for them. Next week, it's on the day, toss of a coin. But I happen to think that Liverpool will have too much in their locker. Looking at the shambles that were Chelsea last night, it reminded me of when basically the Stamford Bridge pitch was it's 1970s. It was just basically a sandpit, and they sold off the family silver, and then it was shambles behind the scenes under different ownership, obviously. Who says history don't repeat itself?
No, I think it does.
Yep.
Okay, well, let's hope this repeats itself. We'll do another one soon. I shall see you soon, John.
And yeah, good to see you again. Good to talk to you.
Yeah.
Apologies to the subscribers.
Yeah, I know. It's my fault. Blame me. But, I think we might, hopefully things ease up a bit, and it'll be really exciting to do some pre-World Cup chats and as we lead into the new season. But as always, please like, subscribe, share, comment, ask me any questions. Always slide into my DMs. I'll ask John. I think you get obviously you got a lot more followers than me. You get the ear bashing on the you get a lot of the messages, but send them to me and I'll pass them on, because that's my job to ask questions. So if you don't think I'm doing a good job, send me questions and I'll certainly share them. But as always, thanks a lot for the support, everyone. Do appreciate it. And hopefully you enjoyed this, and there will be more to come. Cheers, guys.
Cheers, guys. Thanks very much.
See you soon.